who are naturally friendly and the extroverts, you can usually tell who they are because they're loud. And they're hopping from one place to the other place, you know, like little social bunnies. Hey, 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 and the rest of us are all like. But after today, you will be more prepared. Not to be a bunny, but to be friendly. A man that has friends must show himself friendly. So I'm going to start the verse. You're going to hit that word for me. So a man that has friends must show himself friendly. Okay. A man that has friends must show himself friendly. Okay, now you're going to do this whole thing. A man that has friends must show himself friendly. Okay, good. Now in your homework, which you've already handed in, so I hope you remember what you wrote down, you were supposed to come up with some ideas for some general conversation starters. So to start with that, let's think about the categories, the 3 categories that were in your homework sheet. So you remember the first category? Question. Say what? What am I doing here? Second category? Compliment. What? Compliment. Oh, I like your eyelashes. Don't know why. Okay. Third category? Statement. State the obvious. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. Maybe we'll do an exclamation. Eyelashes! Woo! Okay. So we have a question. We have a compliment. We have a statement. I want to know from each of you one sentence that you put on your sheet. So rack your brain. If you can't remember one single sentence that you put on your sheet, make one up. We've got questions, we've got compliments, we've got statements. If nothing else, you can say, did you bring a Whatsit? Or a statement. We are here. This is not very interesting, but it is a statement and it will suffice. So I'm going to start. Every single one of you is going to give me some kind of a conversation starter. We're going to start over here. I hope it gets cooler outside soon. How many of you heard what she said? Oh, you need to be more friendly. Makes me like a movie. Go ahead, try again.
What if it's going to get colder outside anytime soon?
I hope so. That would be nice for everybody involved. Laura.
I'm so confused. What are we doing?
That's a good one. We'll talk about it later. Claire.
What do you like to do for fun?
Ooh, that's a good one. What do you like to do for fun? I actually found a video on YouTube, 6 minutes long, of 2 phones on ChatGPT, which is the AI conversation thing, having a conversation with each other. And it was pretty hilarious, the conversation starters that they used. So, what do you like to do for fun? I like talking with interesting people like you. Oh, that is my exciting thing to do too. It was really, really funny. They were just complimenting each other left and right. How?
Who's your favorite artist or band?
Ooh, who's your favorite artist or band? Little hint. She started talking and I leaned forward. That usually means I can't hear you very well. So if someone leans towards you, I mean, unless they want to talk about your eyelashes, raise your volume a little bit. Try again.
Who's your favorite artist or band?
Good. Who's your favorite artist or band? I saw a picture of a treadmill and it had a board across it and it had a drum on top and it said Homeschool Marching Band. Homeschool joke. Do you do any sports? No. Say something? Rebecca.
What are your favorite things to do?
What are your favorite things to do? And that opens it up to all kinds of very good blanket statement because you can talk about any general thing. You can even talk about things you don't like to do. It's just an open-ended. Moving on to Grace.
Do you like reading?
Oh, I love reading. So if she said, do you like reading? You could say, I love reading, and then what could you ask her?
How many siblings do you have?
Ooh, how many siblings do you have? Ooh, thanks for asking. she could ask me all kinds of things about that. Really? That's neat. Why don't you scoot 3 chairs up? Really, that's neat. Why do you have a yak bone necklace? Like, where did you get a yak bone necklace? Have you ever seen a yak in real life? There's so many things you could ask about this. And I could say things like, I went to Nepal once and I got to eat yak cheese, but I never saw an actual yak. And, did you like yak cheese? Well, I'd never want to do it again, but it was cool once. And I bought a shirt that had a bunch of yaks in a row and it said yak, 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 yak. I mean, there's just so many things you could say. And then you're like, you went to Nepal? What in the world? And I can tell you about the knife that I bought and how I tried to bring it in my luggage because I forgot about it. And they were like, no! And so they were really nice to the stupid American. And they carried my knife and ran it across the tarmac to the airplane, which was up steps. Ooh, little country. And they handed it to the pilot, I think. And I guess he carried it for me. That was awkward and uncomfortable. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
That's a good one. Hi, how are you?
Do you play any video games?
First time I babysat a kid, he played Mario Brothers or Mario Kart or whatever it was. And I was like, I'm no good at video games. And he tried playing with me just once. He was like, you really aren't good. So see how just bringing up a simple question like that, even though I don't play video games, it brought up a conversation. And then I can say, do you play video games? Because why would he ask if he's not interested in that? He's like, no, I hate video games. Why'd you ask me that?
Have you ever been to Canada?
Have you ever been to Canada? Why did you ask me that?
I'm half Canadian.
Are you
I went
serious?
out there, yeah.
That's cool. I have been to Canada. Eddie? I had a Canadian friend, eh?
How was your week then?
How was your week then? That's a good one. You might find out more than you ever wanted to know. Well, on my day, way in the back, Jordan,
What do you like to do?
what do you like to do? Right now? Or on Saturdays? Good. So you notice some questions you can ask for clarification if you want to, but most of them, the whole point of them is not because you actually want information. You're just trying to have a conversation. That's it. So you can ask questions. Most of yours were questions, which is good because that starts conversation. Some of you did the compliments. So, what do? I'll come and be like, I think you're an interesting person. I think you have stories to tell. You could probably do that with most of them. They'd be cool with it. But they're wearing a Whatsit. Now, some veterans don't like to talk about it. So you may be like, I don't want to ask him any questions because he probably doesn't want to talk about it. Well, if he didn't, he probably wouldn't be wearing the hat. A Whatsit is a conversation starter. It opens up. Usually the Whatsits are something we're proud of, something we're interested in. I'm wearing a weirdo yak necklace because I went to Nepal and I think that's cool and I like to talk about it. I have another necklace that has little teeny weeny books on it. It's my books that my husband made for, which is really cool. People ask me about it and I can say, yeah, I'm an author. And they're like, what? And so we can talk about all kinds of things. Do you like to read? Yes, I do. And so people are interesting. You just never know. So the guy with the hat, you can go up and say, typically people say thank you for your service, which I think is wonderful. My dad's a Vietnam vet. Both of my grandpas were World War II vets. They all had stories to tell. If you know, my grandpa used to drive around Patton. I don't know if you know who he is, but if you study World War II history, you're going to know about him. And my other grandpa was a torpedo man, and they sent him to Hawaii to get ready for World War II, and he saw this woman doing a hula dance, and he thought she was really itchy because of her grass skirt, and that's why she was dancing like that. So he called her Itchy Itchy for the rest of her life. Just, they have things to say, but my dad, when people started saying thank you for your service, which is not something they used to say when I was growing up, I love it. He actually got choked up one time and said it's better than being spit on. Because a lot of the Vietnam vets, when they came home, were very badly treated. And so if you see a Vietnam vet, you being kind to them is and showing them honor and respect is so cool. I mean, it's really, really cool. Trust me. And so you see some guy and he's wearing a hat and it has a ship name or something, or it says Marine or something. You can say, thank you for your service. You're in the Marines? What'd you do? That was like the simplest question in the whole world, but it leaves open, I don't know, about maybe 10 years worth of stuff for him to talk about if he wants to. I mean, he could be like, leave me, go away. I've never seen a vet do that. You know, you could go to my dad and be like, you were in the Navy, were you on a ship? You'd be like, yeah, I was on a fast frigate. You could be like, what's a fast frigate? He could tell you what's basically a floating bomb, because his job was to be on the ship that carried the weapons to take to the other ships. And he would get up to another ship like a destroyer, and they would actually send the torpedoes or missiles or whatever they were by cable from one ship to the other in the middle of the ocean, trying not to ram into each other because you don't want to go bonk when there's big bombs in between you. So he has stories to tell, and you know, sometimes we just look at people and we're like, oh, there's a grandpa type guy and a grandma type person. They are interesting. Trust me. I was in the store. There was this little old lady, you know, just a random little old lady. They all kind of look alike, right? They have white hair. They're a little hunched over. They're usually short. And, you know, this small town. It's like she's probably always lived here. Small town, blah, blah, blah. And then she happened to randomly mention to the lady cashier register that she was in the CIA. I was like, can I follow you and ask you questions? You know? There's a lady at Source of Light, where I work now, which is full of a bunch of missionaries. She was in the FBI during World War II. Like, that was her job. Like, can I sit at your feet? Tell me things. You are so cool. Everybody's interesting. Your job is to find out why. But that also means you should know you are very interesting. One of the things I like to ask people when they find out I'm an author or whatever, you know, it's like, ooh, you're an author. What am I supposed to be like? Yes, I'm an author. Please read my books and buy them and make reviews so I can be famous. Thank you. No, that's stupid. So, and they're like, you're an author. What kind of things do you write? Well, you know, I might mention it a little bit and we might talk about it, but then I love to ask, so what's your story? Now that's like a totally blanket statement. It's basically like, who are you? And people kind of go, they kind of don't know, and they're like, what do you mean? What do you want to know? I'm like, I don't know. Who are you? What are you interested in? What do you like? Where are you from? Where were you born? Like, at that point, if they're still just going, can I say where were you born? Because that's a good place to start. Everybody knows where they're born in general. And then they just tell me whatever they feel like telling me, and I find out, you're a totally interesting person. And in the meantime, they tell me something in there that I can ask about and continue the conversation. So, you know, half Canadian. That's really interesting. Now I want to know, why were you in Canada? How long did you live in Canada? Did you learn to speak Cantonese? Did you go to Niagara Falls? You know, like cool stuff. Do you like hockey? There's just neat things. Bree's already written a book, and she did the artwork for it herself. That's interesting. You should ask her about it. You find out you have all kinds of things in common with people if you are There is a difference between curious and nosy, and usually you can tell. Any of you know somebody who's nosy? Nosy is like, let me see. Laura, come here. Now Laura's probably not nosy. I'm gonna be nosy. Nosy is when somebody is asking questions and digging in a direction you don't want to go. And so you can usually tell the other person is uncomfortable. Journalists are usually asking nosy questions because they want you to be uncomfortable because they want to find out stuff you don't want anybody to know. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry. Too much. Nosy people, usually the only people who really like to talk to nosy people are other nosy people. And they get together and they gossip. Did you hear that? So blah, 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 blah. Okay, a nosy person's going to come up and be like, so, especially girls, you get to be like 18 or 19, so, are you going to get a boyfriend? Is there anybody that you really like? Because I'd really love to tell the whole entire world about it while you stand there uncomfortably. And then finally, you know, you get a boyfriend and you're like, finally they'll leave me alone. They're like, so, are you going to get engaged? Do you have plans to get engaged? Do you want to get engaged? Are there problems? Do you think maybe you won't get engaged? So you finally get engaged. And then they're like, so, when are you going to get married? And then you get married. They're like, so, when are you going to have kids? And then I had kids. And then I remember thinking at some point, like, what are they going to ask me next? Like, so when are you going to die? Do you have plans to die? Are you going to die anytime soon? Am I going to be there? You know. Okay, so that's nosy when you're asking questions the other person does not want to hear and does not want to answer. The difference is the way the other person feels. So for example, all of you have siblings, yes? Your sibling, if they come up, you've been having a stressful day. And they come up and you're like, how's it going? Now this is not bad, and it leaves an opening for you to say how you're doing, right? You feel differently about that touch than about, hey, how you doing? Hey, did you have a bad day? I heard you had a bad day. Hey, is this annoying? Does this bother you? Do you not like this? Because I think it's funny. And then finally you're telling your mom, he's touching me! Becky, stop touching me, right? So then your mom yells back, stop touching your sister! And then what do they do? See? That's nosy. Thank you. Go sit down. I won't bother you for a little while. That's nosy questions. And you could tell who's uncomfortable and who is comfortable. Don't be nosy. So if you start asking a question and somebody starts going, like that, stop asking! You know, you can be like, sorry, that was a nosy question. And then move on with your life. But usually people enjoy it when you are genuinely curious about who they are and about them as a person. Like the veterans. I'll tell you an example. I was at Chick-fil-A picking up Hope, she works there. Eye contact, smile, friendly turn. And there was this cute little girl who worked there, and she was black and she had cornrows in her hair. But I had never seen, the bottom of her hair had these awesome little ringlets. And I thought that was cool, and I was curious about it, and I wanted to ask. I hesitated, because it's like, well, what if she thinks, the whole racial thing in our country right now, what if she thinks I'm being whatever, and what if she thinks I'm being blah, 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 blah. And so often those questions, being concerned that you're going to do it wrong or something, stop us from being friendly. But the problem is, if I don't ever ask questions because I'm afraid of divisiveness or whatever, then I avoid her, right? And guess what that does? Creates divisiveness. So I was like, okay, I know how to do this. Friendly tone, look her in the eye, smile, and I was like, I am so curious. That's a good opening. If you want to ask somebody, because then they know you're not trying to be nosy, they know you're just interested. And being interested, that's part of a good conversation, right? Because that means they're interesting. So you're already kind of complimenting them just by asking the question. So I was like, I am so curious. I love your hair. How did you get the bottom to do that? Okay, so my tone's good, my face is good. I'm not like, how you people get your hair to do like stuff like that? Okay, that's rude. That's rude, that's mean, that's racist. Okay, she would have every right to be like, girl, you know. But I was genuinely curious. And so she smiled back and she was like, oh, and she started telling me stuff. And I found out that they did the cornrows, and then at the end, they actually put these curlers in and they stuck it in boiling water to set it. I was like, that is so cool. Running this conversation, I'm learning things. I left Chick-fil-A smarter than I came in, and now I have a friend. Because I was curious. So I try to tell myself at this point when I am interested in something, instead of just being like, wonder about that, go not like everybody wore the same thing, except salmon shirts and others. But it's not like you all showed up and were like, I am so interesting, I brought a yak necklace because I think that's really cool. You learn things about people when you ask questions about their Whatsits. So that's why if you wear a Whatsit every week, you get points because it's good conversation starter. And when you show up for class next week and weeks after that, you can look around, see if somebody has one. You can ask. That's a great question. I just gave you a question to ask people every single week, and it'll start conversations. Even if they don't have a Whatsit, that's a conversation. No, I forgot. Andrew had the whole conversation with Canada about his non-Whatsit. So be curious. But one thing to remember, a conversation is multiple people. One person is a monologue. There are monologuers who are like, hi, my name's Kim. Let me tell you, I'm an author and I've written 35 books, and let me just tell you about the whole plot of every single one of them while you're standing there until you can't take it anymore and you pretend to faint. That's a monologue. You probably all know somebody like that too. That hogs the conversation just like somebody hogs the ball in a basketball game, and you're just like, this is no fun. So this week, I'm going to tell your easy peasy tip now because you're going to go practice it. Ha-ha! So grab your easy peasy list. This one actually helped me the most, I think, out of all of them. Because like you said, repeating 3 words, that'll get somebody talking, but it's not so much she asked me, I answered, but then I